That shocking number in El Salvador, 93.09 violent deaths per 100,000. Shocking. Until I looked up the data, and there, the violent death rate, that was actually characterized as a homicide rate in New Orleans, was 90 per 100,000.
Mr. Chairman,
Very close to the 93.0.
We're going to lose all civility in this committee if he thinks it's appropriate to compare New Orleans to Guatemala. Now,
the gentleman will suspend. The gentleman from Iowa has a right to make a statistical comparison between two locations.
well, you're comparing the people in the locations. That'd be like me comparing them to somebody in the Klan. I don't have a basis to do that.
When the gentleman has completed his remarks, I'll be happy to recognize the gentleman from Louisiana to make his arguments to the contrary, but he's entitled to make those remarks.
We just had a conversation about civility in this United States Congress. Now, I wear badges of bipartisanship because I actually take up and stand up for principles. I am not going to sit here and let him do that. Now, the people I love, the people I respect, and I live in New Orleans. Now, if the gentleman persists on it, then let's go in the back and have the conversation about New Orleans. But I am not going to sit here and do that. And if it takes walking across over there, then I'm prepared to do that too. But it's not appropriate, it's insensitive, and it's nothing more than traditional white privilege of let me criticize a minority city. Now take it how you want, I'm telling you how I feel.
Psycho.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, isn't that a shame? Just a tiny, teensy little bit of truth not allowed in Congress. The white man who just got criticized for his white privilege in that 2017 clip from Fusion, June 28th, we played it, I think, was Congressman Steve King, a Republican, seemingly a real Republican, I don't know. Maybe he was just a phony politician, but he gave a little bit of truth in his tenure, in his decades, I think, several terms in office. And he has just been primaried, thanks to the RINOs who deserted him. What a disgusting thing, and he might have deserted himself, honestly. He may not have bowed the knee to Black Lives Matter like these cops are doing right now, but he seemingly voted with a resolution by the RINOs and Democrats, a House resolution over a year and a half ago, almost, against so-called white nationalism and white supremacy. And he voted with it, saying it is just, but I wasn't being white nationalist. I have a quick few clips from New York Times, 15-4 ABCDE, Joel, of this Congressman Steve King, who got falsely smeared. This is what we're losing, people, by the mainstream media, and the stupid RINOs fell in with it. Here is Congressman Steve King, New York Times hit piece on him, which actually makes him look pretty good. Listen to this.
It looked like this: 10 feet wide, 13 and a half feet tall. They'd construct itself to be a 12-foot finished wall, just like that.
2006.
That's Representative
2006.
Steve King,
We do that with livestock all the time.
pitching the idea of building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, more than a decade before it became President Donald Trump's central immigration policy.
The wall's going to get built, folks. Just in case anybody has any question, the wall's going to get built.
King has been a Republican member of Congress from Iowa for the past 16 years.
The gentleman from Iowa is recognized.
Crazy. So he was up for building a wall more than, 14 years ago? He was for that. By the way, you can get my t-shirt, Uniting the Races with Truth Instead of Dividing Them with Lies, from Jesse Lee Peterson's Teespring store. If you go to rebuildingtheman.com/stores or rebuildingtheman.com/store, they both work. Here's more from New York Times, talking about, what's this one? Oh, they call it, he's talking about dreamers. Here's this.
He's made a name for himself as a hardline opponent of illegal immigration and for his inflammatory, sometimes racist statements. Like when he disparaged so-called dreamers, children brought by their parents as undocumented immigrants in 2013.
For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there that they weigh 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
King was an early and fervent supporter of Donald Trump.
He's a quick study, he's an astute study, and if you explain something to Donald Trump, he's listening carefully, and you need to get it right.
And the feeling has been mutual.
He may be the world's most conservative human being.
Very nice. That's Steve King. Here's more on the anchor babies and Trump.
Trump's election in 2016 gave King a staunch ally in the White House. These days, the president's statements sound like echoes of things King said years earlier.
It's our job here in this Congress to decide who will be citizens, not someone in a foreign country that can sneak into the United States and have a baby and then go home with a birth certificate.
King's ideas and public statements, which once seemed fringe, now appear in the national discourse.
Good.
His views are central to the white identity politics that heavily influence the Trump administration. The Iowa congressman's ultra-conservative ideas have been a long time in the making.
Preventing babies from being born is not medicine. That's not constructive to our culture and our civilization. If we let our birth rate get down below the replacement rate, we're a dying civilization.
Duh. He's just spewing common sense, and they're calling it white identity politics. Sounds like white identity politics is better than any of the Democrats and RINOs have. Here is that it? Oh no, here's a little bit more. Western civilization became a buzzword for white nationalism. Here it is.
King has denied that his statements are racist and often invokes the idea of protecting our civilization. It's a concept of national identity and racial superiority that's a common talking point among white nationalists. In an interview on MSNBC, King himself explained.
Where did any other subgroup of people contribute more to civilization?
Than white people?
Than Western civilization itself, that's rooted in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and the United States of America, and every place where the footprint of Christianity settled the world. That's all of Western civilization.
He's even gotten close to white nationalists outside of the U.S., appearing with far-right Dutch politician Geert Wilders. King has also been to Austria several times since 2013, where he's cozied up to the far-right Freedom Party.
Oh dear, oh dear. Here is, he's just saying common sense stuff. The same thing that Jesse Lee Peterson says. Here is the last bit on so-called white supremacy from New York Times.
Back at home, King has been reelected 8 times and is considered a party kingmaker in Iowa. But the 2018 midterms were his toughest contest yet. He won by just 3 points. And days before the election, a member of his own party called King out as a white supremacist.
RINO.
After more than a decade in Congress, his rhetoric may be finally catching up with him.
No, it's demographics that are catching up with him. It's not even demographics, it's evil. Evil is taking over. And he wanted English to be the official language of Iowa, I believe, in Iowa. And he's just telling the truth. What a sucker. So we have Mitch McConnell trashing him. Bobby Rush, who shouldn't even be in Congress, trashing him, a black, dumb Democrat. Mitch McConnell being the RINO, who functions under Trump, but he bashed King. Mitt Romney trashed him, all kinds of mess. And luckily he didn't apologize, but he voted with that condemnation of white nationalism and white supremacy. He should not have even done that. They should be condemning the Democrat Party. He has confronted Eric Holder on the extremely biased prosecutions, Eric Holder being a former attorney general under Barack Obama, biased prosecutions of whites and conservatives and independent people distinct from the government, independent, like hackers and different things. Meanwhile, he lets Obama slide, the IRS scandal slide. The IRS was targeting the Tea Party people, the Tea Party being the pre-Trump conservatives before Trump came on the scene. And then they ended up being mostly supportive of Trump. except for the RINO Tea Partiers, the fake ones. So that's Steve King. And he's been for what's right consistently over the years. I don't know if he was just a politician or if he was really standing on what's right, but he was the only one speaking with any sense of sanity in Congress. And now it's a politically correct, which is to say, evil mess now, weak, pretty pathetic. And they've replaced him with some guy who I'm guessing is a RINO. Because why would any real conservative oppose him, right? They should be defending him. Such a shame. There's a lot of false stories out right now, and I am going to be getting to your calls. 888-775-3773. Actually, the lines are full right now. But the media was crying yesterday. I told you guys about it in Hake News. Yesterday, after President Trump cleared the area, he had the military or whatever, the cops, clear the area so that he could walk across the street to pay respects to the church that was burned, church building, right? 200-year-old church building, something like that. Every president since Madison went there, something like that. James Madison. That's an old school guy. I think he was one of the people who signed the one of those old founding documents, right? He's a historical figure, a decent one, I think. And Trump went over there with the Bible and held up a Bible, a show of strength, cleared the area, showed the dumb liberal politicians how to clear an area of rioting and mess. And they called it peaceful protesters, the stupid liberal media and Democrats and fake Christians like that female bishop whom I told you about yesterday, who looks like a, not entirely feminine, right? And they said it was tear gas against the peaceful protesters. Well, that's a lie. President Trump tweeted out an article, I think by Molly Hemingway, who appears on Fox News regularly. She writes for like The Nation or something like that. I'm not really, I don't have the full details, but the point was she debunked the lies. The media was crying tear gas, peaceful protesters. It weren't peaceful protesters. I told you that much. I knew that they weren't peaceful. And in fact, any of the so-called peaceful protesters, some of them are trying to be self-policing, right? Kind of like how the Tea Party was doing. And I've seen some of the protesters, blacks and whites and others, stopping the Antifa types, the punks, from, destroying property, tagging up stuff. I played you one black woman over here in LA saying, that's not what we're about. They're going to blame black people for this tagging, and it was a dumb Hispanic girl and another white or Hispanic stupid Antifa woman. But overall, they're not peaceful either because they're smearing cops and pushing a lie of racism and false black victimhood, please. So they're not peaceful protesters. They're anti-American, anti-police, anti-white, anti-Trump, anti-Christian protesters. And there's these stupid Episcopal priests that were talking about, oh, this was like what it was like getting gassed so that Trump could walk across to the church. Please. And it was smoke bombs. Smoke bombs have no irritant. They are kind of gross, I'm here. You don't want to be in a smoke bomb. Who wants to breathe smoke, right? But it was not irritating tear gas that makes you want to put milk on your eyes or whatever they're supposed to do, right? Trump tweeted out this article multiple times talking about the fake news people. And they were throwing projectiles, throwing bottles and rocks and other things, maybe, bricks maybe, at the police. They were not so-called peaceful protesters. Maybe there were some so-called peaceful ones that were, in effect, providing cover for the rioters. But they're not. Every mostly peaceful protesters is always the line that they, the liberal media, use when it's a leftist riot. The Tea Party protests were completely peaceful, but they said mostly white, which by implication, they're trying to say mostly racist, right? They were completely peaceful, not just mostly peaceful. The Tea Party, the conservatives, and they're self-policing. The alt-right protests in Charlottesville were completely peaceful until the cops, under the orders maybe of the mayor or the liberal city council, allowed Antifa and the blacks to go intermingle with the alt-right and attack the alt-right people. And it wasn't just alt-right people showing up there. I would have gone there if I knew that Antifa wasn't going. If I knew that Antifa wasn't going, I wouldn't show up. If they knew that they were going to be there, because they just want to hurt people. But they went in and attacking. Independent journalists there said Antifa were the primary aggressors. And Black Lives Matter, of course, the blacks there in Charlottesville, Virginia. Actually, in Charlottesville was one of the places where I'm going to tell you guys about in the coming days, maybe, I'm not sure when, where a black person set a white person on fire. And that's not uncommon to hear about, actually. And then it became mostly peaceful. But what did they focus on? The one guy who drove into the crowd, which is a big news story, right? Drove into the crowd and hurt people and killed somebody. But they didn't even tell the truth about that situation. So there's this killing of a black so-called protester shared by Drudge. I told you guys about it in Hake News, Hour 2, by a white bar owner, right? Over in, I forget where, let me see. Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. The governor, Pete Ricketts, apologized because he said something about you people. Where were you people? But the dumb blacks, the evil blacks, who push the false notion of black victimhood and excuse black perpetrating, are all upset because this white bar owner of a bar, shot a man in self-defense. A 22-year-old guy named James Skurlock, a rioter, who, according to the reports, I have this screenshot, I think. Not that I expect you to find all this stuff, Joel. They were jumping this white man. It was desperate self-defense, according to what Stefan Molyneux said, tweeted out. And even in the article, I think it said something like, I think I may have it. Let's see. Black protester killed. And they have a bunch of pictures. Some of these black female rioters, they're all like stylish, fancy looking. And then some of them just nasty looking. But listen, this is an excerpt from an article Cernovich tweeted underneath this CBS News article, right? Because CBS News tweeted out this article. A white bar owner in Omaha shot and killed a black protester. He won't face charges, right? And then Cernovich and Mark Dice and Will, one of the guys, regulars on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, the Bond Church with Jesse Lee Peterson, and the Hake Report, all tweeted fact checks of the stupid CBS article. A grainy surveillance video of the shooting played during the briefing showed that Gardner, which is the white bar owner, backed up and pointed a gun after two people tackled him in the street during a riot, Omaha, Nebraska. He initially fired 2 shots in the air that did not hurt anyone. After Skurlock, the black one, James Skurlock, jumped on his back, Gardner can be heard saying, "Get off me," many times before fatally shooting Skurlock once in the clavicle. And I guess that killed him. Clavicle is your collarbone. Crazy. Skurlock was taken to a local hospital where he died from his injuries. Mr. Gardner, as we know now, has said, "I did what I did to defend myself." And we find that we can't disprove from the evidence that we have, said Klein, who is an attorney. That's such politician language. In response to the outrage on social media, Klein added that there was not any racial tone to the conversations between Skurlock and Gardner. Stupid. Even if there were, you have the right to, in a heated moment especially, to say so-called racist words. Get off me, you black guy. Are you kidding me? He was getting attacked. Gardner jumped on his back. Yes, he was shot in self-defense. Shot a rioter, not a protester. With headlines as fake as this, Mark Dice says, it's no wonder morons are whipped up into such frenzy. Such lies, huh? Will, who's a faithful viewer of all things Jesse, and including the Hake Report, I think. We need a complete restructuring of the media system. They have to be held accountable for the stories they print. Yeah, I agree. This is riot stirring. They have to be held accountable for the stories they print. Gullible celebs like Chrissy Teigen, better known as Chrissy Legend, because she's John Legend's wife, and Justin Timberlake fall for it and spread it to their fans. Do you even have a journalistic degree to be a journalist? Degrees don't help it, man. Degrees don't help, because degrees make you dumber and more liberal. It's crazy. I think they do get their journalism degrees, and that kind of makes things worse, honestly, Will. But he's right. They need to be libel laws and slander laws and all these things. And these people need to be sued or put in jail for the lies that they push. Hands up, don't shoot. Another lie. Black Lives Matter is founded on the deaths of Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown. Both of them brought it on themselves, especially Michael Brown. But Trayvon Martin, too. Michael Brown was going for the gun. Trayvon Martin, I don't know. He got killed in self-defense. And you have to assume self-defense, but they don't want to believe that. Blacks, if you believe in innocent unless proven guilty, why are you presuming people guilty even after proven innocent? You're the lynch mob. You hate when cops presume you're guilty. You get all mad when I talk about having joked with my friends in the past about seeing a black guy and going, guilty. But that's what you're doing with the whites, stupid. Ridiculous. So that's another fake story. Steve King primaried thanks to the evil RINOs. Disgusting. Democrats are the party of hate. And the RINOs are joining them in this hatred of America. Jeez. And white people. Steve King is a white man and he's a nationalist. I think. Representative. Oh, by the way, and then I will get to your calls. NPR tweeted this out. Dozens of public health and disease experts. I don't know if I gave this to you. I might have, Joel. I'm not going to get to any more clips, I don't think. Dozens of public health, NPR anti-racism, public health. Dozens of public health and disease experts have signed an open letter in support of the nationwide so-called anti-racism protests. You think of anti-racism, you know that they're evil. White supremacy, because the belief in racism is like a religion to these disgusting atheist people. I have friends that, I lost most of my friends, right? Once I started, tracking with politics again, because I was like not into politics because I hated how ugly people got. But then when Jesse Lee Peterson broke it down into just right versus wrong, I started being like, oh yeah. And then Obama came up forward and pushing stupid lies and trolling people and driving people nuts with lies. You drive a conservative crazy with lies, right? You drive a liberal crazy with telling the truth. You make them mad by telling the truth. Conservatives hate being lied to. Whites hate being lied to. Or seeing other people believe lies. It's crazy. It drives you nuts if you have anger in you. And so you got to drop it. But I lost a whole bunch of friends because I was, posting on Facebook, kind of being obnoxious, I guess. And they're stupid, brainwashed liberals. They can't take it. So they, most of them, blocked me and quit talking to me. All kinds of crazy things happening, right? Smearing, talking behind my back, which I didn't really care because I don't hear from them anymore. But I had 2 friends left who are still liberals. And I see one of them posting this black thing. There's this black thing that they're putting, and then I'll finish the NPR stupid thing. But this blackout, what is it called? Social Media Blackout Tuesday. Hold on, because I gave you 2 different things. Social Media Blackout Tuesday. Instagram posted #share black stories. And they said this dumb thing what do they say? We stand against racism. We hear you, we see you, and we are with you. We stand with our black community and all those working toward justice in honor of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and far too many others whose names will not be forgotten. Time and time again, we have seen that the Instagram community has the power to bring about meaningful change. and blah, blah, blah. 10 million to our efforts. This is owned by Facebook, right? Committed to ending racial justice. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Red heart, which means hate. And it's SoundCloud. SoundCloud is the platform we use to host the silent prayer audio and Church with Jesse Lee Peterson audio and Jesse Lee Peterson highlights. Well, they have this. I go to their website and it's all blacked out. It's really a music platform used by like blacks and other people. Looks like demons took it over, Joel says. And it says, speak up, speak out. And it's all like scratched out. It looks like somebody took a marker to the website page, and then it says, speak up, speak out, why we're blacked out. And then they have this long thing. Since we launched in 2007, SoundCloud has been a platform where anyone's voice can reach the world. Today we're joining Blackout Tuesday, solidarity uniting the music industry against racism, and blah, blah, blah. And they said that they're donating to the NAACP, and they're encouraging people to donate to the National Association Against Colored People. Disgusting. And so, like, I see one guy on social media, because I never go on Instagram. I'm so bad about going on Instagram. You know, I have my Hake Report thing. I'm supposed to be running a business. I am. And I love YouTube comments too much. I can't go anywhere else. And then I'm retweeting stuff. And then, so, like, Twitter and YouTube are where I am. I'm not on IG or Facebook. I hate those platforms. They censor people like crazy. Twitter does too, and YouTube does too, but I think Facebook might be the worst. And so I see this friend of mine, and you guys know him. Well, I don't know. And he has this blackout thing, and I'm like, I put LOL, because I was just too shocked. And I thought he was going to have a sense of humor about it, but I look back, I'm blocked. Well, we mostly interact through text anyway, so maybe it's not a big deal. But maybe his girlfriend has a hold of his account, because he's thinking like a female. A whole bunch of people, these are emotional times. People losing friendships like crazy. It blacked out black on black crime. Anyways, let me get to some calls. Let me quickly first read few super chats, though. Shouting at Clouds says the politicians responsible for poor training. I'm not sure what you mean. Who was trained poorly? Mobetta Jankum says too many blats out rioting. It is mostly privileged white and Jewish Antifa college commie revolutions. It's whites, Jews, Hispanics, and then there's like a few black Antifa. But yeah, you're right. College commies. Mobetta says, de Blasio, New York daughter arrested in attempted overthrow. Man, she's gone through it. And Joel's like, the sun seems nice. Yeah, the suns across the board, liberal or conservative, tend to be like beaten down into submission, into like a stupor, into just being docile animals. And the worst that they have is a big afro. Oh, he just said nicer. Yeah, nicer. But yeah, I've noticed that even before I found Jesse Lee Peterson or anything, I always noticed that the girls seem to be at least seemingly better adjusted, socially anyway, even though they're off the deep end liberals. And then the young men are a little more sane, but they're broken down in one way or another functionally. And that is so common. And it's a mess. Anyways, let me get to David, first-time caller in Wisconsin. He's been on hold forever, as have a lot of you guys. David, thanks for holding. What's up?
Hey, Hank.
Hey.
How's it going?
Going all right. How about you?
Pretty good. Say, I was holding probably for 2 hours today.
Oh, really? Well, I'm glad you finally got through. Did you get on air with Jesse? Because I haven't been on 2 hours.
I waited about an hour with him, and then his show ended, and then I got on and I waited for you.
Right on, man. I appreciate that.
Okay.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't care. I was doing some work on my computer anyway.
Right on. Cool.
Okay, so I just have this thing to say. I think this is important, and I think that you guys might be able to benefit from this as a part of your whole group. And so this whole thing about Black Lives Matter, it's amazing how the world can put a smoke screen over everyone's thought process. And the whole concept of focusing on color, meaning Black Lives Matter, is to take away the focus on people's individual character.
Yeah.
So, you got Martin Luther King, right? He says, he looks forward to a day when we can judge a man by the content of their character.
Right.
Well, we don't even care about that anymore. We just say, well, you're black, and guess what? You have privilege. You get to go in the head of the line for jobs. You get the admission into college. If you're black, you get to go to the head of the line. So what do? They say, well, there's white privilege. That's a smoke screen. Why? Because the truth is, in this country, the people that have privilege are black people.
Yeah.
And so here I am, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't even believe in racism. If you look into King James, authorized King James Bible, the word race doesn't even exist. As they created new versions of the Bible, they added the word race. It doesn't exist. We're all one race, God's race. We all, like Trump says, we all bleed the same red blood. But what's going on right now is we're being told that because I'm a white man, right? So I have white privilege. But let me tell you, I can look out my window and I can see people of color that have all kinds of special services for them in our town. And it's like, well, I can't get those. They got, I've got relatives that are of color, and none of them work, but I can work. My kids can work. So when they say, well, I have white privilege, I say, no, that's not true. You want to have a real discussion? Let's put this on a spreadsheet and show the programs for me, and let's show the programs for you. And you find out there are no programs for me because I'm a white man.
Right.
And I don't. So I detest the idea of somebody saying that I have privilege. My parents, my grandfathers.
How old are you, David?
I'm 61.
Wow. Right on, man. I'm honored you listen to my show. So listen, the young people today, I think my age and younger, have mostly grown up, especially the white ones, where they've been the ones who've been attacked and so-called bullied and oppressed and all that mess by the other kids and the teachers and the politicians and the dumb, the parents kind of dumb. If anything, right? The other ones, like you said, have the privilege. And the white kids are getting kind of sick of this. And so a lot of them cave in and kiss up. And a lot of them react, and they totally disagree with you about the race does not exist thing. Because you look at the reality of the different people and how their cultures act, it is a stark difference in how they act. But there is a lie about it where they're blaming the victims. They're blaming the white kids, and the white young people and all that stuff. But I say to them, cut the boomer some slack. He's for the truth, and so in reality, it really should not matter. People should be able to be strictly for what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
But people are not. It's a false, this Satan's world, and it's a false imitation of the kingdom of God where, we kiss up to the poor victim blacks who've been oppressed and they face injustice every single day. It's just lies. Right. So you're right about that. But spreadsheets and facts and statistics, both the young whites and the older whites get into this stuff. It's not what's going to change people's minds. It's not some people who are really about the truth may see these facts and statistics and wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I've been hating whites for no reason, whether they're white or they're black or whatever. For example, Clarence Thomas, before he became a Chief Justice, he was working as a lawyer and he was still a liberal. He was a radical leftist. He hated white people. Believing in racism was his religion. And he didn't know what he would do if he came across a case of a black perpetrator, because he felt that every black who was in prison was a political prisoner. And then he found the crazy black-on-black crime. And that was like one of the moments that was like the road to Damascus for him. And he realized, but he had that root of truth that was forced into him by his grandfather, and just maybe God inside of him knew that this was wrong and told him this was wrong. And he started to realize and wake up that he was wrong.
Right.
So
Well,
you are right about that part.
Yeah, well, I have a friend, and he was a young black man, and somebody told me he needed some help. So I got involved, and he had children with multiple women, and he was a younger black guy, and so he said, well, I'm in trouble, and they're going to put me in jail. And I said, well, what's the deal? He says, well, because I haven't paid my child support, I owe a bunch of money. So I did. I paid it for him.
Dang.
And I don't want anything from him.
I don't know if that was the right thing to do, man.
I know, and guess what? It turned out badly for me because then he quit he got off the hook on that, and then he quit his job, and he's caused all kinds of other problems.
Mama.
I know. So, and here I am trying to be, a Christian.
Yeah.
He came to me and said, or somebody came to me and said, can you help him? I said, well, how much does he owe? It was actually a pretty fair chunk of money.
Yeah.
And I paid it. Now, guess what? I still love the guy, but here's my point to the whole call.
But you didn't love him the first time when you did that.
I agree.
That was a false love.
I agree.
Yeah.
I screwed up on that.
Yeah. So white.
Yeah, right. So what I was thinking is, you guys, we all see, everywhere we go now, you see the words Black Lives Matter. It's 3 words, Black Lives Matter. I was thinking you guys should develop a T-shirt, and what on it, instead of Black Lives Matter, it says Your Character Matters.
Nice. Appreciate the tip.
Well, because, Martin Luther King says we need to be judging people not by the color of the skin, but by the content of their character.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
But the problem is people say that, but they have to live it. And I don't even know if MLK lived it. I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Anyways, man, appreciate you, David. Take care.
Okay, bye.
All right. I love boomers, and you got to love boomers. Otherwise, you don't love anybody. Spoiler alert. So, LOL, what a cuck. Caller is the problem. Hey, man, you got to cut the cucks some slack. They got growing. Everybody got their blind spots, and you got to be patient with them. But, yeah, that's wrong. So, Nick Diaz says, no, he didn't live it. He was a commie. I don't know. I heard a lot of different things. In reality, we got to just look at ourselves, right? Let me get to Ian, first-time caller out of Martinez, and then I'm going to read the YouTube Super Chats as well. First-time caller, Ian, good to hear from you.
The Hake Report.
That's me.
Can you hear me okay?
Joel's helping out. Yeah, I can hear you all right. It sounds like you might be on speakerphone, but I can hear you okay.
No.
I think that's better.
Yeah, shout out to Joel, too. Shout out to all you guys.
Yeah.
You got my full support.
Appreciate it.
You guys are doing a great job. I love everything that you guys are saying. I tried to get on with Jesse earlier, but dude, I'm sure you guys are. I'm sure you already know that you guys are slammed with the phone calls.
Yeah, definitely.
But I noticed that you don't get a lot of calls in that. I mean, I noticed you do get some, but maybe you're not getting as much because the phone lines are busy. That about what a bunch of whites calling in about the lie.
Yeah.
Like that don't have white guilt. For example, me, I don't have any white guilt, dude.
Good.
I've never been. I'm full blown white, dude. I'm Irish. I'm as white as you, and I've never been privileged ever.
Yeah. Except maybe you had good parents. Did you have good parents?
Yeah, I was raised in a 2-parent home. They stayed together.
That's a privilege. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. In all honesty, it's not supposed to even be a privilege. But nowadays, that gives you better chances of having a little more common sense than the rest of the world, seemingly nowadays. But even then, yeah. Especially now,
today, with these current events.
Yeah, it's really bad. Well, I'm glad to hear it. How is it up there in Martinez, California? Is that the Bay Area? I think it is.
Yeah, it's I'm right by Walnut Creek. It was nuts the other night.
Yep.
In Walnut Creek. I drove by there, took my daughter out. She's only 7 years old, but I wanted her to. She doesn't understand what's going on, but I wanted her to at least see it with her eyes.
Yeah. Have you talked to me before?
No.
Okay.
This is my first time. I talked to Jesse.
Yeah. All right.
At church.
Yeah, I read in Hake News about 74 cars being stolen from a Dodge dealership in San Leandro. I don't know if that's anywhere near you, but there was all kinds of looting incidents over there. Cops were spread thin. They broke into this Dodge dealership, rammed cars that were blocking the exits because the owner blocked the exits, rammed the cars, chains, posts, ran them down, and got out of there. And they chopped some of the cars up. Police have only recovered about 15, maybe more by now, vehicles, but it's a mess. And they say crime causes poverty. I mean, poverty causes crime. It's the other way around. Crime causes poverty. And actually, immorality causes both so-called poverty and crime. It's spiritual poverty. Jesse's so right about that. I appreciate it, Ian.
Yeah, San Leandro is about 20, 25 minutes from where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's right next to Oakland, though, and Oakland's the worst.
Yeah.
Oakland's just like L.A. It's all Oakland and San Francisco are smaller versions of L.A., dude.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
I remember Oakland because of the crazy Occupy Wall Street protests, which were really riots by the commies, basically. Antifa, Black Lives Matter types. And, hate-filled people, pro-Palestine people, a bunch of, the liberal ones, pro-Palestine people, just the scum of the earth. They just call it Occupy Oakland, right? Because it's not Occupy Wall Street. But they were like, we are the 1%, basically pushing jealousy and hatred of the rich, who are no angels, but they themselves are not looking at themselves. That's what happens when you're stuck at looking and blaming at other people and not checking yourself. You go out of control. Man, Ian, it's good to hear from you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. Thanks for taking my call with all the busy phone lines.
Yeah, you're welcome, and keep safe with your family.
Yeah, I'm just I'm a big Second Amendment guy, so I'm locked and loaded, dude. If they come around here, because I'm in the suburbs.
Yeah. Yeah. And, if something happens,
they might not want to come around here.
I know, but if something happens, you heard about these stories where these white guys kill a black in self-defense, like this guy in Omaha, Nebraska, killed a person in self-defense, and the blacks still want him lynched. You can't do anything. Jake Gardner, white bar owner, shot and killed 22-year-old so-called protesters, the words that Washington Post uses. They hate America, Washington Post. Thanks, Ian. Take care, man. Let me get to Louie out of Idaho. I'm not going to steal that joke. Louie, it's good to hear from you. Thank you for holding.
Second, third hour Hake.
Yeah, I know.
I've been saying that for over a year, James.
I know. Have we really been a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm working on it. So far today and yesterday, I'm not aware of any drops, right? No drops, guys? So far, so good?
Drop? I don't know.
Yeah, well, the stream has been okay.
Yeah, you're right. A protester is a looter that wasn't caught. That was my point.
That's a fair point. Seemingly overall, you're right. Exceptions to the rule, because I know there's some decent ones out there. Like I said,
not all, right?
Yeah, exactly. But they're not good people. Even the so-called peaceful protesters.
You know what? The
protest
is a negative.
Yeah.
A protest is against,
Exactly. Yeah. And they don't have solutions. They're encouraging the problem. Everybody who's, that white girl that Nick interviewed on Sunday during his Facebook live stream, who had the big welt, puts her body in front, white allies to the front, right? White allies of blacks.
But the one who knelt, the one who kneeler?
Oh, she looked a lot like the one who kneeled. But
Man,
this
I was disgraced. I was disgusted with that.
Totally disgusting.
Me? What about boot kissing and all that?
Exactly. Yeah. It's awful. It's humiliating.
It is. But now I am ashamed to be white.
No, man.
I'm joking. I'm kidding.
That's those whites, those dumb whites. And some of them are not even normal whites. A white Christian wouldn't do that. A fake white Christian, I'm sure, would. But hey, this girl was saying, I don't condemn the actions of people of color, marginalized groups, like so-called underserved groups, for looting and rioting. But that's the very criminal action that gets them in confrontations with cops, you dummy. So she doesn't care about the blacks. She's being a dumb mama. I wonder what her parents think about her. She's from OC.
Hey, listen, my son was going to go to a protest here in Idaho.
Yeah.
I gave him my advice. You know what? I gave him my advice, and he didn't go.
Right on. Your son's a liberal?
My son he's got long hair. He's 17. You know what? He's a good kid. He's a good kid. Oh, my middle kid is a Marine.
Yeah.
My older son is a musician. He's got a band and all that.
Yeah. Well, cut him a little slack. Hopefully he'll.
Nah, of course I do. Yeah, of course. We're gonna have lunch today.
All right. Cool, Louie. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Before I read some of the super chats, let me get to Jesse out of Texas. Jesse, thanks for calling.
Hey, how you doing, Hake?
I'm doing all right.
For the call, this riots right here, man. It's really crazy. It's really unfortunate.
Speak up for me, Jesse. Are you on a speakerphone or Bluetooth or something?
No, I got the phone up, but
that's
I'll
better.
Speak up.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Now I don't want to get too extreme on this or nothing, but my main point is that the media is leading all of this, right? And it's been years, about 100 years of NAACP, ADL, constantly telling Black Americans, you're being treated unfairly. Whites hate you. Whites hate you. Whites hate you.
Yeah.
And the media has been stirring this for 50, 60 plus years. Hollywood, and now you got the internet companies. Now the reason why I say I don't want to get too extreme, because I don't. But all these companies, from NAACP to ADL, they all have basically led by the six-pointed star entity. The I don't want to say the word because I don't want to get you in trouble. But when it comes, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's everything, the Minnesota mayor, the Illinois governor. And it just keeps going in Hollywood, and it just keeps going, and Ben and Jerry's and Amazon. I mean, not Amazon, but so that was basically my point. And now all the six-pointed star entity, they hate white people because the resentment goes back 1,000, 2,000 years, because the Europeans kicked these people out many a times. And destroyed their temple, I think, in Jerusalem, the Romans.
I wasn't aware of that.
So all this just goes back to tribal wars from back in the day. And there's a good video on YouTube called by Ray Haggins, H-A-G-I-N-S.
Send me the tip. Send me the tip, Jesse. I appreciate that.
How do I send it to you?
The Hake Report at gmail.com. The Hake Report at gmail.com. You have to blame... Yeah,
go ahead.
The Hake Report at gmail.com. You have to blame. You have to blame everybody who is responsible for their evil. So you can blame. You can blame them where they're wrong, and they are wrong, and they seem to be 70% liberal.
Yeah.
And even the conservatives are not so nationalistic, so pro-Trump, seemingly.
Yeah.
And so I do understand your criticism, but you have to blame the people falling for it too. You have to put the individual, the suckers, because yes, you can be like, they're evil for playing the blacks like puppets, for playing the illegals and the homosexuals and the women and the white cucks and all them for suckers, right? They are evil for that.
Yep.
But you have to also
Yep.
blame the suckers for being suckers. They don't have to be suckers. Some of these suckers wake up. And
That's true.
The other thing is evil does its job, and most people won't wake up. There's going to be a few of the six-pointed star people that wake up and become Christians or whatever, and there's going to be a few of the blacks, a few of the and you just have to stay on what's right and not resent evil and not be overcome by evil. People losing friends like crazy, and that causes people to trip out sometimes or be resentful. You cannot fall to that, because you're gonna end up, even if you're calling out, being so brave, calling out the six-pointed star people.
Yeah.
If you're not right yourself, you're inadvertently helping the side of evil. It's really good versus evil. You can point to all these groups, all kinds of different groups, for the wrong that they do, and you have to also call out the white cucks for being white cucks, surrendering their country. But yeah. So
it's HAKE report @gmail.com.
But the word "the" in front of it, the Hake Report.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the time, Hank, and good luck on everything. You're doing a great job on the show.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
All right. Bye. Let me see. Oh, let me read some of these super chats. Catherine Payne gave $20. Thank you, Catherine Payne. Willie Palomino says, cool shirt, Hake. Thank you. Lord Nikon says, boot-licking back the blue cucks are shocked by cops kneeling. I'm not. Wake up and realize who is your enemy. Trump needs to deport them, meaning the cops, at least the kneeling cops, along with Antifa, says Lord Nikon. Yeah, a lot of you guys have criticized the cops, especially like the libertarian types, or the ones who are just know too many cops who are like power trip types. And I guess, but cops are human beings too, and as all human beings across a society decline, of course the cops are going to become cucks and dumb, evil people too. What a mess. But don't turn on don't turn on them as a whole group. You just got to turn on most of them, right? And not even turn on them, but just recognize that they're not coming from what's right. They're falling for it. And some may just be following orders, which is not exactly an excuse, but Wilfred P., the lamestream media is way beyond yelling fire in a theater. Yeah, true. They are pure evil. And, they say the First Amendment says you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. And Trump has been calling out the lamestream media, right? The mainstream media, MSM, as being fake news, malicious, the enemy of the people. And that is what they are. And they are not protected by the First Amendment to be lying and smearing Americans and America. They're evil. Spoiler alert says the Nazis called them the Lügenpresse, lying press. Same issue. Were they wrong? They were not wrong on everything. They were wrong on some stuff, I'm sure. Hot Computer Smell. Appreciate the super chat. Tabor. I keep on mispronouncing. I don't know how to pronounce it. Tabor J. Eaton. Or Tabor. I think it's Tabor J. Eaton. You got to send me. Make a YouTube video like Samuel from Sweden did for Greta Thunberg. So that I know how to pronounce your name, Tabor. Went to Manchester, New Hampshire protests, quote unquote, last night. Pathetic teenagers yelling at the cops, no morals, sitting around getting drunk and high. Losers. I appreciate that, man. What a shame. How far New England has fallen. That was like the birthplace, New England being those states, New Hampshire, Vermont, all those places that were like the birthplace of the United States of America. Not built by cucks, I don't think, right? And now it's so bad. Danny gave a super chat and says, we can blame any group, but in the end, it is Satan. True. Yeah, that's the ultimate point. And don't be a child of Satan. So, very nice. Where Earl at, says Mo Betta. And I keep on forgetting and saying his last name, which starts with a J. And I think it's a bad word, right? Change your name for me, Mobetta. I'm opening the treasure chest, but he says, "Where Earl at? He not looking to learn a thing or two from the Hake? Yeah, Earl, what's up? Come at me, bro." Just kidding. Mobetta says, "Tell them Antifa to find a different land." Yeah. They are globalist commies, socialists, pro-homosexual, everything evil. Just awful. So, opening the treasure chest now. Congratulations to you guys. Dude, there was something I wanted to cover else. This was crazy. I don't know if I even have this picture, but President Trump, thankfully, I don't know if Jesse mentioned this, Jesse Lee Peterson, in his show today, talking about this black man, David Dorn, age 77, who's dead now, 38 years in the St. Louis police force, retired police captain, a black man, shot and killed, stopping looters who were robbing a pawn shop, stealing TVs or something. And President Trump tweeted out his picture and posted it on Instagram. I don't think I gave it to you, Joel. But Trump is calling out the actual victims, including blacks, whereas the press, the Democrats, the stupid Joe Biden saying the country is crying out for leadership, and that's why we have President Trump being a leader. Am I wrong? Guys who have your Trump critics who are on the right, I think he's the leader he's the man for the job. In these times, he's the man for the job. And yes, you can criticize his little weak moments of kissing up to, for whatever reason, whether it's Jared or Ivanka, Javanka, or what, or having to work with the RINOs. Biden vows to heal racial wounds. He's the one who helped open them along with Barack Obama. Disgusting. And look at him. He looks like a joke. I have a picture of Joe Biden. It's a Joe Biden drudge or something like that. Look at this guy. He doesn't even look remotely like a leader. He has a diaper hanging off his face. And when I say diaper, I mean this stupid-looking white mask thing, face mask, COVID mask, right? 80-something-year-old, well, I don't know what he is, 78 maybe? But he's like, he has that 1,000-yard stare anymore. What a mess. I heard that George W. Bush, by the way, said something dumb. Predictably. George W. Bush, I maybe should not have even ever supported. I don't know. Maybe it was okay to support him. But I voted for him twice. But he was wrong. And by the way, just to correct the record type of thing, Jesse Lee Peterson was criticizing him and his amnesty bills for years. This George W. Bush guy, he's an enemy of America. He's part of the cucks who betray this guy. What's his name? Representative Steve King. That's George W. Bush. Doesn't he look like a nice guy? But in reality, he's not. He's evil. What a sucker. And I don't even really want to look into what he did. I wonder what type of a person this Randy Feenstra guy is who's replacing Representative Steve King. Is he a... Hold on. Is he a... Nah. I was going to ask if he's a POC. But it's evil. And I was telling you guys about the cops kneeling. It's disgusting. These cops being so pathetic. So anyways, I am working on another possible guest to come on the show. I call him a liberal, but he's basically a rhino, I think. I'm going to argue with him about the the destruction in the black community, and he's one of those so-called conservatives who I think he's kind of a rhino, and he thinks that blacks care about black-on-black crime, and because there's these places that are trying to push jobs and different things and keep them busy, right? But then he turns around and hates Jesse Lee Peterson, who's putting out the real solutions. So many of these people that act like they care, act like they're black conservatives and that they care, they still hate whites, and they still believe in racism, and they still hate the plain, solid, harsh truth that Jesse Lee Peterson's telling every day about responsibility, family, fathers, and all that stuff. When you present them with these things, they agree with it, but then because Jesse's telling the harsh truth, they turn on him. They say, oh, I actually like black people, unlike Jesse. Dumb. So it's no wonder people are losing. Anyways, guys, thehakereport.com/show for my stuff, jesseleepeterson.com for Jesse's stuff, rebuildingtheman.com/stores for cool t-shirts. And we're working on more designs every day. And we'll try to get the what is it called? I went way over the break. I went way over the outro song. Tar Baby. Amazing Tar Baby. We'll get that up there. All right, guys. Take care.